Hi kids! We have been reading Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo, and this has been going on for a long time because it is a long book. In fact, it has about 52 chapters and we are on chapter 42, and I think you guys are dying to see what happens to Despereaux and all the other characters in our book. And I think that you want shorter videos. So I'm gonna do one video for one chapter, and I'm gonna try to make 10 videos of the last 10 chapters of this book and have it done by the weekend so that you guys have the opportunity over the weekend to find out what happens in this book, because the suspense is killing us. So I'm going to read chapter 42. Chapter 42, the rest of the thread. And in the last chapter, Despereaux had gone to the king to tell him, he was like, King Philip, I have to let you know there's a plot. Your daughter has been kidnapped, and I know that it's the rats. I heard them, and Prince Philip, he just didn't believe him. He blew him off. And so Despereaux kind of realized at the end of it, he was like, it's gonna have to be me. I'm gonna go have to save Princess P. So this is where he's going. He's going to save him. Well, we'll see what happens. This one's called The Rest of the Thread. Chapter 42. The threadmaster was sitting atop his spool of thread, swinging his tail back and forth and eating a piece of celery. The threadmaster was one of the mice from the beginning of the book, who, if any of the mice got into big trouble and got sent down into the dungeon as punishment, he tied a thread around them in order to lead them down into the dungeon. Eating a piece of celery. Well, look here, he said when he saw Despereaux. Would you just look at that? It's the mouse who loved a human princess back from the dungeon in one piece. The old threadmaster would say that I didn't do my job well. That because you are still alive, I must have tied the thread incorrectly. But it is not so. And how do I know it is not so? Because the thread is still around your neck. Despereaux had a piece of that thread still around his neck. He nodded and took a bite of his celery. I need the rest of it, said Despereaux. The rest of what? Your neck? The rest of the thread. Well, I can't just hand it over to any old mouse, said the threadmaster. They say red thread is special, sacred. Though I, myself, after having spent so much time with it, know it for what it is. What is it? Said Despereaux. Thread, said the threadmaster. He shrugged and took another loud bite of celery. Nothing more, nothing less. But I pretend, friend, I pretend. And what, may I ask, do you intend to do with the thread? Save the princess. Ah, yes, the princess, the beautiful princess. That's how this whole story started, isn't it? I have to save her. There's no one but me to do it. It seems to be that way with most things. No one to do the really disagreeable jobs except oneself. And how exactly will you use a spool of thread to save a princess? A rat has taken her and hidden her in the dungeon, so I have to go back to the dungeon, and it is full of twists and turns and hidden chambers. Like a maze, said the threadmaster. Yes, like a maze. And I have to find my way to her, wherever she is hidden, and then I have to lead her back out again. And the only way to do that is with the thread. Gregory the jailer tied a rope around his ankle so that he would not get lost. As the mouse said this, he shuddered, thinking of Gregory and his broken rope, dying, lost in the darkness. Said Despereaux, I will use thread. The threadmaster nodded. I see, he said. He took a meditative bite of celery. Meditative means you are thinking. You, friend, are on a quest. I don't know what that is, said Despereaux. You don't have to know. You just have to feel compelled to do the thing, the impossible, important task at hand. Impossible, said Despereaux. Impossible, said the threadmaster. Important, he sat, chewing his celery and staring somewhere past Despereaux, and then suddenly he leapt off his spool. Who am I to stand in the way of a quest, he said. Roll her away. I can have it? Yes, for your quest. Despereaux put his front paws up and touched the spool. He gave it an experimental push forward. Thank you, he said, looking into the eye of the threadmaster. I don't know your name. Hovis. Thank you, Hovis. There's something else, something that belongs with a thread. Hovis went into a corner and came back with a needle. You can use it for protection. Like a sword, said Despereaux, like a knight would have. Yes, said Hovis. He gnawed off a length of thread and used it to tie the needle around Despereaux's waist. Like so. Thank you, Hovis, said Despereaux. He put his right shoulder against the spool of thread and pushed it forward again. Wait, said Hovis. He stood up on his hind legs, put his paws on Despereaux's shoulders, and leaned in close to him. Despereaux smelled the sharp, clean scent of celery as the threadmaster bent his head, took hold of the thread around Despereaux's neck in his sharp teeth and pulled on it hard. There, said Hovis, when the piece of thread broke and dropped to the ground. Now you're free, you see. You're not going into the dungeon because you have to. You're going in because you choose to. Yes, said Despereaux, because I am on a quest. The word felt good and right in his mouth. Quest. Say it, reader. Say the word quest out loud. It is an extraordinary word, isn't it? So small and yet so full of wonder, so full of hope. Goodbye, said Hovis, as Despereaux pushed the spool of thread out of the threadmaster's hole. I have never known a mouse who has made it out of the dungeon only to go back into it again. Goodbye, friend. Goodbye. Mouse among mice. And that's the end of that chapter. And there's a picture. I think that's, if you look at it, I think that's Despereaux right down there. And then it's Hovis. Hovis was nice. And the caption on the picture says, you see, you're not going into the dungeon because you have to. You're going because you choose to. And that's a quote from Hovis. That's what he said to Despereaux to send him off. All right, this video is less than 10 minutes. It's only 9 minutes long. So hopefully it'll be easier for you guys to download it. And it won't take so long to download to your phones and devices. We'll see you next time. Bye.